detective. Thrill me.
Thanks for joining us again. Another relatively new film hitting Shudder earlier on a few weeks back. Late Night with the Devil tonight. But before we get to that, Jared, let's list what we've been watching. I believe you've had a low key list.
Not
It's not your usual fucking War and Peace.
What are you saying? What are you fucking saying?
I don't know, you had fucking other things to do.
Yeah. So I started things off with, I've been trying to fill a few holes in the John Carpenter catalogue that I haven't seen, but I also went back to a couple that I had but just hadn't watched in a while. So I started with In the Mouth of Madness.
How was that? Because everyone loves that one.
It's pretty solid. Like, I don't love it. I think there is good things about it. I like the concept of it all. But, you know, they talk about the kind of Lovecrafty elements that I feel like that's where I lose it a little bit for it. Because it starts off, it sort of sets that with Stephen King, essentially. Sets it up like Sutter Kane is kind of Stephen King. And I'm in for that. And then we go to like the town and kind of get stuck in it.
Then things get weird.
Things get very weird, yeah. Not quite sort of, you know, society level weird. No
one's face is coming out of someone's bum.
But I feel like it wouldn't have been out of place. So.
It's this close. Like we're a fucking hair off that.
So yeah, I didn't mind that. I had another Carpenter one later in the week that I'll mention, but I went to Jackpot.
Yeah, I watched Jackpot too.
Yeah, I was hoping for, you know, Ricky Stenicki. Cena, straight to Amazon, you know, as we described last time, there was many times I thought to myself, I should be laughing, but I am.
Yeah.
So I was hoping for the same with Jackpot, but I just didn't get it.
Well, my thing, and I've got some interesting stuff to say because I watched a couple of newer films
That'd
on.
be a first, wouldn't it?
Yeah, fuck, I walked right into that, didn't I? Yeah.
Sorry,
nobody's
I've been waiting 8 years for this, so.
Nobody who's listening to this is fucking expecting anything decent from me. But I've actually got something to say about streaming because I watched a couple of newer ones on Netflix as well, and fuck, mate, I've got some shit to say. But yeah, I'm with you on Jackpot. There were moments of like, I got a slight chuckle.
Yeah.
Like, the stuff at Machine Gun Kelly's house was pretty funny.
Yeah, I got a couple of laughs.
I got a few laughs out of that. But overall, it's just like, the idea had some legs, but it just didn't hit the mark at all. And John Cena tries his fucking best.
He tries his best, but he doesn't get many laughs. I mean, Awkwafina, I've said a few times, I'm not a fan of hers. I think the last thing I saw her in was Renfield, and I turned around a bit. I thought she was good in that. It was straight back to why I don't really like her. She gets pegged with carrying something, and I just don't think she's got it.
Yeah, and the movie kind of relied, it seemed like, I would suggest.
Maybe it's just my taste. I just don't find her all that funny.
The movie, I think, relied on improv.
Yeah.
And a lot of it wasn't good.
Yeah. From both of them. Like, Cena was not...
Yeah, he wasn't at his peak.
Yeah, there was a couple of times when they just let him talk and he starts talking about Ninja Turtles and all this shit. And I was just like, it's not your best work, John.
John, think before you do this.
I thought, should I just turn this off and watch Ricky Stenicki?
And John, you shouldn't improv. I think...
That's harsh.
That's harsh. He did his best. And I like him. I think he's a likeable actor. Like, I'll say that much.
I watched Alien Romulus.
Yep. You were pretty happy with that one.
I quite liked it, yeah. It's not top tier. It's not Aliens, but it certainly fits neatly, kind of pretty close behind them. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the later Ridley Scott ones.
No,
I didn't
fucking
like
Prometheus was funny. I fucking another one of these movies. I don't know what was going on.
But even if you do, I feel like Prometheus is another one in the world. Like, even if you get what they're putting out there, it's just not all that entertaining.
Yes.
That's.
I didn't see Alien Covenant.
I did. I didn't like it.
Danny
McBride.
Yeah, great. Danny McBride was in it, so fucking what do I expect?
No.
Kenny Powers fucks up another series.
But yeah, look, there was definitely familiar stuff about Romulus, but I really enjoyed the performances of the two leads.
Mm.
And, you know, there's been talk of something that's sort of brought back, which I didn't find as off-putting as some people probably did. I think that they actually do things. They do a couple of things set piece wise that where they take familiar things and just play with them and do something that hasn't been done with them, which I didn't mind. I just thought it was. I just had a good experience in the cinema.
Put it this way, Jared, it's been a long time between drinks between, a really good Alien movie, hasn't it? 1986.
This is the closest I would say we've got.
If this one's pretty decent, I think I'll take it.
Yeah, it hits on some things that I quite like.
Yeah,
a bit of popcorn movie stuff.
And it's done all right box office wise, so that, the franchise has kind of been reinvigorated. A little bit like Predator.
Yeah.
Got reinvigorated with Prey.
Yes. And the follow-up to that's just started shooting today, hasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so I didn't mind that. Went to Tubi, found Disturbing Behaviour, which I'd been trying to watch again.
I actually wouldn't mind checking that out. I hear it was absolutely gutted. Like they cut a heap out of it, but...
Look, I kind of looked at it this time a little more favourably because I remember seeing it kind of at the time and being heavily underwhelmed.
Yeah.
Actually really sort of enjoyed it this time. It's not fantastic, but it's better than I gave it credit for. I think I'm giving it a little more credit for some things that it tried to do and didn't quite get there. But yeah, I thought it was okay. It was quite an enjoyable watch.
Okay.
Not so much was Free Jack.
When you messaged me about Mick Jagger, I was like, fuck me dead. What was Jagger thinking?
I mean, sometimes I wish, just when I got the control in hand and I see some of these movies and I go to press play, I wish someone would just fucking wrestle it out of my hand and slap me across the face. But nobody did that before.
It's a prick of a film all round, though. It's fucking terrible, and everyone involved should be. And there's high-profile actors.
Entertaining in parts, and another one of these kind of high concept, action-y sort of things that the ideas have some merit, and you can see why someone said, "Yeah, let's have a go at this." But Jagger is having a dead set shocker.
Oh, Jagger, fuck me, better in Cocksucker Blues. I told you that. Jagger's best performance is in a film that he fucking stopped from being released because he was fucking out of his bloody gourd.
Based on his acting performance in Free Jack, I'd say you're probably right about that. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's there's points where it starts to go into something and you think, oh, we could get a good fucking action scene out of this, and we don't. We don't get a good action scene. We don't get any thoughtful thoughtful things on the ethics of pinching people just before they die and all these sort of things. But yeah, not so great. I watched Menace to Society.
Oh yes. The Hughes brothers.
Yeah,
right? Their first film.
Yep. Pretty solid.
Yeah.
Pretty solid.
Who's in that? Like, who's the...
I can't remember the guy's name, the lead. The actors, the younger actors are all reasonably... Like, not a lot of them are well-known, what I would say were well-known. Jada Pinkett was in there? Sort of the lead female character, and then you get sort of Samuel L. Jackson and I think it was it Charles Dutton sort of step in for roles for kind of a couple of minutes here and there.
Yeah. I remember that being a good film.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. It was good. Some things now that you've probably seen a few times and don't really surprise, but the story is sort of neatly sort of weaved together, and even the I think the point of it, some of it is like you can see the tragedy coming, but that's the sad part. Like that's what they're trying to talk about. People being born into a situation where you can almost see, and the movie starts displaying these points where the guy could get sort of off this track and just he's heading that direction but doesn't quite do it in certain elements. So yeah, that was pretty good. And then back to Carpenter, I found Memoirs of an Invisible Man.
Oh, not his best.
No, it's not great. And I've heard for some reason that Chevy Chase might have had quite a bit to do with trying to make it less funny.
When you're a fucking comedian, you think that fucking Chevy's got a bad rap at the moment.
Chevy's just a prick from top to bottom.
Stand-up comics who become dramatic actors are fucking few and far between.
Yeah.
There's only a handful of really good ones who have
managed to do it. The worst thing about it, though, is he probably had the chops to do it.
He probably did.
It sounds like he's just so fucking on himself and cannot work with anybody without fucking.
Well, I heard he couldn't work with Carpenter on this either.
Well, Carpenter has. I think Carpenter had some bad things to say about him and Daryl Hannah.
Really?
Yeah, he definitely had some very, very bad things to say about Chevy, but I'd heard that he said working with the pair of them was like working with a pair of children.
Oh, fuck.
So
Not a good film, though.
well,
I'd actually like
it's
to check out Village of the Damned. That was the one I'm looking for.
That's another one that I'm sniffing around because I remember watching that at the time, but I haven't watched it since. It's not that bad. Probably could have done with some humour in there, but there's some reasonably impressive effects for the time too. But yeah, it sort of gets caught up a little bit in the government chasing Chevy. It's sort of like, is this really what we wanted to see?
No. Is Sam Neill in that one? Is that got Sam Neill?
Yeah,
okay.
Sam Neill's in it. Obviously not like working with a child because
No.
Carpenter worked with him again. So
No, because
So you have great respect
I think
for
it's
him.
because Sam's a professional.
Sam's a professional.
He's not
and
a
from
fucking
everything I've
idiot.
seen, he's also not an arsehole. He's just a
Exactly.
decent bloke.
Exactly. Sam's a nice guy.
Yeah,
He's not a flog.
Chevy, on the other hand, according to all accounts,
He's a mammoth dickhead.
in the wash up, I sort of just dug back into a couple of articles of Chevy's greatest hits. The guy's just a prick. Like when that many people say you're a prick, surely you got to look at yourself and say maybe I am.
Exactly.
But I think the thing about Chevy, from the most recent comments, I think he has looked at it and said, "Yeah, I'm a prick. So what?" Like,
Okay, you can admit it then. That's all right.
okay, fair
I'll
enough.
take that,
but stop complaining about not getting work.
Yeah, but you're not getting work because you're a flog, mate. What are you fucking trying to
yeah.
put the fuck, join the dots.
Yeah, and speaking of flogs, the last thing that I watched was the death of WCW.
I watched that too.
Who killed WCW?
That was
sorry.
fucking awesome.
Yeah, it was really good. I think if I had one complaint, I was hoping they would have gone into some of the moments a little more. Like they talked about, the finger poke of doom and all that sort of shit.
Yeah, I know.
I was hoping for a little more of that. I was looking for a deep dive into the Ultimate Warriors comeback in WCW. So
Yeah.
but unfortunately didn't get that. But
No, but
I love that they spoke to like a lot of people and
why
took
did we not get
everybody's
Hogan?
oh well, I mean, it would have been good to hear from him, but I also think people just don't trust what he says to an extent.
Yeah.
He's never going to do that sort of stuff because he just doesn't. He doesn't.
Well, part of it is because he's not going to come across well,
No.
unfortunately.
And I think that's my one complaint too about Eric Bischoff, who comes across far better than I thought he would.
yeah.
But you just can't trust a word he says about Hogan. He always defends Hogan and says, "Nah, Hulk didn't use his creative control. I did that." And
No.
I feel like
he's covering.
Hulk said many times, "Not tonight, brother."
Yeah.
As he did with one of those ones.
Yeah, there's always like, not tonight, he's not on. I'm like, fucking hell. Are you serious? The people who came off the best for me were. Look, Bret Hart, he's very interesting,
He's
but he's
bitter.
very bitter.
Yep.
And there are times where he's talking where it's just like, fuck, mate, you need
He's
to let this
knowledgeable,
go.
but he's always got an axe to grind.
You really got to let this go. And I think it's because he was so royally fucked over.
Well,
in a number
he
of
complains
ways.
about how he complains about WCW didn't use him very well. Tell me who they did use well, Brett.
Yeah,
At that
that's
time,
what-
everyone was everyone was in the shit.
I love when they hit on the NWO and then everybody was in the fucking
Everyone's in the NWO. Then we got
It was the green NWO.
well, we had the NWO Wolfpack, the Latino World Order.
I was like, what the fuck's
everything's
going on
going.
here? I tell you who I like to hear from. Big Sexy.
Yeah.
Big Sexy was all right. He was he made me laugh so hard when he was talking about Goldberg.
Yeah.
He's like, this guy fucking tackling you like a football player. He's like, the poor cunt in the corner fucking getting squashed isn't enjoying it.
Yeah.
And he's like, come on, man, be a professional. It was piss funny.
Yeah. Yeah, he was good. I also liked how he started he talked about how he did his Dusty Rhodes impersonation and he was like, "Oh yeah, you're ours, brother." It's like, and then he starts telling, I tried to tell Dusty that Oz is a place and I can't actually be a geographical location. And it was the Wizard of Oz. It wasn't Oz. And then they cut in the movie. And the guy in the movie's there going, "I am the Great Oz," and then they go back to Nash. bagging the character, but fuck, that was funny.
Yeah.
When he walked out with that fucking rubber mask on, and then
Oh man, yeah. Look, it
I
was.
was hoping for a bit more of that. I wanted to see him. I wanted to see the Yeti. I didn't see the Yeti once. I wanted to see all that shit. We didn't see any of it. But yeah,
It was really well put together.
it was.
It was
and
really
I
well
actually
put together.
learned a couple of things. I mean, I've read the books on this. Like, I read Wrestle Crap, which had a bit about it.
Which was a classic.
I read the death of WCW and things like that. But the whole conversations with the executive level guys,
Yeah.
who again felt like you couldn't trust them.
Oh, you couldn't trust that other guy, Vince. What was his name?
Russo.
Russo, yeah.
It's Russo.
You couldn't trust
You're
him
not
either.
trusting Russo.
No, like the problem was you had Bischoff saying one thing, Russo saying something else.
Yeah.
And I don't think the truth is somewhere in there. It's in the middle,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's not either of what they told us.
Yeah, I think so too. But
I think it's got the words Hulk Hogan attached to it.
yeah.
It's like-
Yeah, I mean, Hulk Hogan is synonymous with bullshit. Like it's
Yeah,
fucking the same too. But
he went to the Frank Duke school of fucking bullshit. There's no doubt about that.
but hearing from those guys actually filled in some gaps, and the talk about how they had offers on the table for this much, and then they fucking pulled the TV slot, which then, I mean, they were talking 60 mil that Eric Bischoff had got together. Vince McMahon swept it all up for about 7 or 8.
Did he?
Yeah. So
Fuck, so that it
when
really
they talk
lost.
about the TV, the rug being pulled with the TV, and Bischoff being like, I feel like they backstabbed us, and then the guy comes out with a whole conspiracy theory. I'm like, that's a lot of fucking money that they missed out on because of the TV. And,
Yeah.
and McMahon was just able to fucking come and pick the scraps, basically. So
Yeah, and he was always going to do that.
yeah,
Like eventually, I think WWE was always going to win.
yeah,
in
of
the
course. But it's always
Like,
good. It's
McMahon's
good to
a
have
fucking-
competition.
McMahon is an absolute penis, but he's a well. Am I?
You're not wrong.
I'm not wrong, but he's a shrewd businessman, and he's been a shrewd businessman his whole career.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and you don't get to where he got by letting
Not knowing something about
Yeah.
what you're doing.
and not knowing the right time to move on these guys, and so,
Yeah.
and the thing was they were winning the
Yeah.
battle, and then they decided to go overboard and add more fucking shows, and it just.
The non-shrewd part was that he didn't really make the most out of it. Like when he got WCW, he brought all the guys there and fucking killed them.
Yeah, basically,
So
yeah.
there was only a handful that really kind of took that level that they had and kept it or pushed it further.
I was quite happy to hear from Booker T. I
Yeah.
thought he was
Well,
good.
He's one of the people that probably went on.
But he
Like,
was good. He was like there was no axe to grind. He never he wasn't bitter. I just liked his constant presence in the doco. He just added a little bit of he found a few spots for us to fill some gaps and stuff, and I thought he was really good. Yeah, a little bit of humour here. All right, is that everything?
That was
for you?
it for me. That was it.
Yeah, all right. Obviously, I watched Jackpot and I watched Who Killed WCW. I watched Night Beast.
Oof. I did warn you off it.
Jared, I didn't realise how fucking amateur it was going to be. And there's a sex scene at about halfway through where I was like, why is this
Yeah, where did that come
happening?
from?
Yeah, why is this happening?
Yeah.
And old mate looks like fucking the guy who lived in the house at Ted Bullpit's place, fucking Kingswood Country back in the 70s.
Yeah.
He's got like a fucking perm going on, a mustache. It was bad.
It was bad.
real bad.
Yep.
It must have been made for like 10K or something.
Yeah, not
It was
much,
Pretty
not
fucking
much.
bad. All right, okay. I went to the cinema. I've got a couple in here that are not what you'd call action or horror, but me and the wife went and saw It Ends With Us.
Mm.
Yeah, not good. It's well made. It's well acted. Clearly, the heart, like the film is trying to provide a message, but there is just a sequence near the end where I was just like, no. You can't do this. You've got a film about domestic violence, and then you basically give the abuser an out.
Mm.
And I was like, you can't do that. Like, fuck. And it kind of spoiled it. Like, it spoils it. Because they did some interesting things in the film. Like, there was some interesting ways they showcased the domestic violence by almost shooting it in two different ways. Like, you saw it the first time and it looked like it was an accident.
Yeah.
Then when we look back on it, it's not. And I thought that stuff was interesting. It's obviously been overshadowed by all this bullshit going on, fucking the feud and all this kind of crap between actors. But
Blake Lively hasn't
Come out this well at all.
No.
All right, I watched a new shark film on Binge called Something in the Water. It's still a long way off. Fuck, Jared.
Surprise, surprise. You're telling me Jaws is still legs out in front?
Yeah. Fucking hell.
Is it 51 years now?
Yeah. Something like that. It tags another year on. Okay, this is where looking at Jackpot, I was really disappointed, and I thought, like, fuck me. Another one of these movies from a streaming service that's just kind of like, it's got A-list stars, but it's kind of B-list crap that we used to get on video, Jared. You know, we used to get it on video
cop for $3 a night.
Exactly. Or part of a 5 for 5.
Or 10 for 10.
Or a 7 for 7. Yeah, like, fuck. No problem. I watched The Union on Netflix. Again, A-list stars, fucking C-list script. It was just crap. Like, it was crap. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, look, is Mark Wahlberg hard up for fucking money or something?
Well,
like
he's got to drop
he's
a
got
bit in the collection.
Mate. He's got fucking Wahlburgers. Why is he worried? Do you know what I mean? Like, it just feels like Netflix goes, Mark, we got this. Yeah, fucking all right.
I've got a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I got a few weeks available. It's really shit. And then to follow that up, this is not a horror movie or an action movie, but me and the wife watched A Family Affair, which again has A-list stars. And I was just, as I watched it, I was like, what the fuck is this? Like,
you are falling right into the Netflix trap, aren't you?
But I'm just sitting there going, what convinced these people who have had quality careers to look at this and read this and go, yeah, this will be the next one I'll make?
You said it before, Adam. Money.
It must be. I think what gets me is I don't care if it's like a B-grade movie with B-grade actors. Like, that's to be expected.
Cheap doesn't mean, or cutting the money down doesn't mean it has to be a shit movie.
Yeah, but now we've got A-listers fucking deciding that this stuff's okay.
I don't know what the thing is with Netflix. I feel like it's just all about, okay, well, we chuck an A-lister with this and we know we're going to get the viewing hours. So do we care if it's shit?
Yeah, well, that must be it. Because these movies are all number one on their top 10.
Exactly.
Like,
that's what I mean.
So Netflix doesn't care.
You're falling into the trap.
Mate, I've got to stop watching fucking Netflix. Jesus Christ. All right, I went into documentary territory with the new season of Untold, the sports docos. Dropped its first one, which was called The Murder of Air McNair, who was a quarterback.
Steve McNair.
It's only 58 minutes. I mean, it's passable, Jared, but the most disappointing thing is the bloke was murdered, right? We spend fucking 50-something minutes trudging through it. And then in the last 6 minutes, this bloke pipes up and says, no, like he wasn't killed, but they said that his girlfriend shot him and then shot herself. And then this ex-cop appears like 6 minutes to go and says, no, he wasn't, like, in my opinion, and he linked some shit that, in my mind, I was like, that sounds fucking feasible. That someone murdered him, someone else. And I thought, that's your fucking documentary, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you weave it all together. You've got two different angles of what it might have been. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing dishing this up with 4 minutes to go?
Yeah, that's
so I was
disappointing.
very upset by then. Now, I watched a thriller on Netflix called Greta, about a girl who finds an old lady's purse on the subway. She gives it back to her, and the old lady starts fucking...
It's loose.
Yeah, gets loose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nah, not
good?
great. Nah, not great, unfortunately. Some good actors.
You had a rough week.
Hey, we haven't got to the worst yet. Jesus, strap in.
Let's keep digging.
I watched The Town That Dreaded Sundown, the remake.
Yep.
I'm going out on a limb here, Jared, and say that it's vastly underrated. Vastly.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's
good.
I think it's good, and I think the killer is super creepy. Like,
Yeah.
super creepy.
Absolutely.
There's something really menacing about him. The whole, when he gets the first two at the start,
Yeah.
and he's like, fucking turn around, don't look
Yes,
back.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, as I said, when I did the two of them recently and looked into it a little, there was more of what actually happened than I thought, which makes it even more creepy.
Yeah, I think they do a really good job to weave the actual story, the original movie, and a whole fresh take.
Yeah. But it is let down by
Oh,
not really having a...
The reveal sucks too.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, the reveal sucks. Like, when they reveal who did it, I was just like, oh,
Whatever.
fucking hell, we seem to have run this quickly through the...
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing I really loved that I actually didn't notice initially, right at the end, when she's sort of giving the voiceover, and then she's saying, I went to college and everything like that, and, it was still in my mind, and you see her walking away, and you just see on the wall the shadow of him, like he's back. I thought that was really cool. Like, I thought that was really cool. But overall, like, I actually loved it. I thought it was fucking excellent. And super brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the gore and stuff was just over the top, but it was really well handled. So I really enjoyed that. Then I went to Tubi, Jared, with Mutant.
Good. Mutant?
Look, Mutant had some reasonable ideas and actually looked like it had a bit of money. And Wings Hauser, Jared, he's not a bad presence. I don't mind Wings, right? I like my wings, okay?
I thought you said you had something interesting to say at some point.
Yeah, I know. We still haven't got there yet.
Talking
We're probably not going to get
Wings
there.
Hauser.
Yeah. I also then watched The Uninvited about a mutant cat on a fucking on a cruise ship.
I thought I should have my Tubi account remote.
And it stars Clu Gulager in a small role who, for some reason, has a fucking fake set of choppers in.
Oh, that's enough for me to probably watch the movie.
He's having a shocker. Like, I'm not joking. He's having a fucking shocker. Skip that one.
Okay.
I'll say skip it.
Well, I told you to do the same with Night Beast, and you came back to me and said you watched it, so maybe I might do this.
Yeah, you better return soon. I watched a documentary on Netflix called American Murder, which was about Lacey Peterson, which was, again, standard Netflix stuff, doco-wise.
Yep.
Night Swim, rubbish. Fucking rubbish.
Rubbish.
Yeah, absolute fucking rubbish. This is why we shouldn't be making 2-minute fucking YouTube movies into 90-minute films. Because there was just nothing there to hold it.
As I said to you, initially, early on when I watched it, I thought, okay, this is better than I was expecting because of the family dynamic. But in terms of what's around what's causing things, there's just,
nothing.
As you said, there's nothing
Fucking
there.
nothing. It's a bit like Lights Out, but I thought Lights Out was better. Like, Lights Out was better.
But, I mean, to your point, what was more impactful? Watching the movie Lights Out, which I could not tell you one fucking detail about.
Or the fucking 3-minute short film, which scared the living shit
out of me. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, along with Window Licker, I haven't been able to fucking sleep.
And the whole point of that is the imagery is what it's all about.
Yes.
We don't need any more. You get that 3-minute film on YouTube and then you
poop your pants.
Poop your pants and sit in the corner for 24 hours. And you don't need a backstory.
Yeah, coming back to Window Licker though, when I've had a big night in the piss and I immediately sober up, like when I see Window Licker, that's when you know.
So you're telling me, in the not too distant future, after we've had a skinful and watched the second season of The Family Stallone, that I should just sneak on Window Licker and see.
Coming soon, yeah. Chuck on Window Licker and I'll be perfectly fucking sober. We then got into a bit of Clint Eastwood.
Ooh,
older
okay.
Clint Eastwood.
Okay.
Older Clint Eastwood. I put the wife through Space Cowboys, which...
Older? I thought you meant as in like
no,
some
older,
of his good
the
movies,
older
not
man
the actually
Clint Eastwood. The elderly Clint
Eastwood.
Eastwood.
Okay, I'm not as excited.
I did a small mini review on that. I really like Space Cowboys, and as I said to my wife, there's a place for like Armageddon, like. And on a good day, you said, fucking Armageddon's 4 stars.
Yeah.
Like,
Good days are very rare.
they're rare
obviously.
on Armageddon, but, you know, I can get down with what Armageddon's giving, but I actually kind of like what Space Cowboys does with it.
I think I might have actually said a good day. It might be 5 stars.
You did. Yeah, that was ridiculous. Nobody took that seriously. Like,
I mean, it takes me seriously. That's
yeah, exactly. No one's listening to me. No one's taking you seriously. This fucking shit shouldn't even be on.
You're right. There is a place for the old dog.
Yeah.
That's still got a couple of tricks in the bag. Like,
And the 4 actors ring a great deal out of a pretty pedestrian plot.
Yeah.
There's not really much to what they're asking them.
do you think an old Tommy Lee Jones was sanctioning any form of buffoonery on set? Or do
Well, I
reckon
can
he
tell
was-
you right now, Clint was not sanctioning his fucking shit either. Like, Clint would have been saying, not here, Tommy, okay?
Clint
It's
Tommy would have just been. It would have been a fucking joy to be around every day.
yeah,
wouldn't they?
exactly. Yeah, that's right. But I think those 4 actors do a fucking fantastic job with it. And
Yeah.
they genuinely bring a little bit of humour and a bit of emotion to the whole thing. And they play to their strengths. Like, they all play to their strengths. And I'm not going to lie, I got the fucking biggest laugh when Donald Sutherland, Clint turns up to tell him that, we're going into space. And he hands over the contract. And Sutherland goes, I need my glasses. And he fucking pulls them out. They're like fucking this thick. They're fucking
Yeah.
thick as Coke bottles. And Clint goes, you don't have to wear them all the time, do you? And fucking Donald Sutherland gives this incredulous, of course not. He's like, only when I'm reading or driving or walking. I can laugh my ass off.
Yeah.
But yeah, it works. And then we went to Gran Torino.
Yep.
Which I also think works for the most part. It's pretty well done. There's one particular sequence that I couldn't really buy because he kind of beats a guy up. And I was like, fuck, he was older than my dad.
Yeah.
And my dad could not do that.
Clint was very old at the time, but he also had the kind of spaghetti arm frame.
Yeah. Like he's losing muscle mass. What he needed to do was take the Sylvester Stallone approach and get on the HGH.
Clint.
But it's quite humorous in parts,
Yeah.
considering the subject matter. And Clint's character, I mean, there's some pretty fucking off-colour shit that he says.
Yeah.
So, but it's worth watching. And now I've told the missus I think we should watch $1 Million Baby next,
Yeah.
which is I actually really enjoyed that one. And the last thing I watched the it's a Blumhouse doco series that just came to Netflix called Worst Ex Ever.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking hell, there's some real dickheads out there. I can say that much.
You needed to watch a TV show to confirm that?
No, but now it's confirmed. Fully confirmed. And that was it for me.
Okay.
It's been a long list and there's some shit in there,
Yeah.
but there's a couple of good ones. I mean, fuck, as I said, I was stag
Sounds
over
like
the
you
weekend.
should not be left to your own devices.
I shouldn't, no. And I'm not going to lie, I was talking to myself.
What sort of things were you saying? Were you sitting there saying, I think I'm wearing ladies' jeans again? Stuff like that.
Did I get a perm? Did I recently get a perm? Where are my sack of beers? Where's my beer sack? Yeah, no, I said shit like that, but nothing good. Yeah,
Okay.
nothing worth repeating. I was
Right. So
Right.
don't leave you alone. That's the message of today's.
No, but then again, I'm not going to be late on the weekend and we'll be watching the Family Stallone,
Yeah,
for
I don't
fuck's
know what
sake.
you'll have to blame. And once again, I'm assuming you'll be speaking to yourself at some point.
Depends how many beers I get in, I guess.
Couple of beers, couple of seltzers. and
Yeah, I'll be fucking
I'll
talking.
be
out
having a conversation and I won't care whether you're involved in it or not. So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Look out, I might call you a scumbag again.
Yep. I'm used to it.
All right, let's take a break. And here's the trailer to 2023's Late Night with the Devil.
On Halloween night, 1977, America gathered around for a live TV event that shocked the nation. What happened was real. What you are about to see is the recently discovered master tape of what went to air that night.
With Mr.
Ladies and gentlemen, now, here's Mr. Mitch Jack
Late Night with the Devil.
Late Night with the Devil from 2023, written and directed by Cameron and Colin Carnes, who wrote 100 Bloody Acres. It's produced by Derek Duche, who produced Anger Management, Matt Gavoni, who produced The Loved Ones, Roy Lee, who produced It, John Malloy, who produced Molly, Stephen Schneider, who produced Paranormal Activity, and Adam White, who produced Lone Wolf. It stars David Dastmalchian as Jack Delroy, Laura Gordon as June Ross Mitchell, and Ian Bliss as Michael Haig. The budget was unknown. I don't know what it cost. I was unable to find that information, but it made $13 million at the box office. Now, the Carmichael Haig character is very closely based, including physically, on the real-life James Randi. Randi was a talented magician who became a famous psychic debunker, and he started an institute that offered a large reward to anyone who could reproduce their supposed paranormal powers in controlled conditions. Over decades, nobody was able to win that money. Why am I not surprised on that front?
I've seen a bit of Randy's work.
He gets
stuff.
fired up, I believe. He gets fiery occasionally.
Yeah, but I mean,
Maybe he's sick of bullshit artists.
There was one particular one. I remember this bloke who was like talking about how he was like a martial arts master or whatever, who could move things with force, and he essentially was moving pages of a book with force. And Randy says, "I'd like to just put some of these like packing peanuts around the book just to confirm that he's not blowing on it." And of course, once the packing peanuts came into play, the book didn't move. I became a bit of a fan of James Randi's work.
I would agree that James probably did a good service, I think. Yeah. All right. Late Night with the Devil, Jared. What was your feelings on it?
So I think it was I think it was an exciting prospect because it was just something fresh. People have probably put it in the found footage category, which is fair enough because it presents itself as like a lost episode of this TV show. But it's sort of not the same thing. It's a little bit different. And I think that ends up being the best thing about it. The presentation of something from that era.
Correct.
They nail it. I think they nailed the TV show. David Dastmalchian, who you've chuckled at me before when I said I'm a bit of a Dastmalchian fan.
Dastmalchian fucking kills it.
He's excellent. He's excellent. Really, really good. The only downside is probably the gags are a bit light, but then you can also imagine, okay, it's the 70s, so they probably weren't as on edge as what we got later. You know, you're not watching something like Conan O'Brien, who was, could make a few gags that would border on a little bit
blue.
But in terms of like the mannerisms and the presentation of one of those shows, I thought it really nailed it.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing about it.
Yeah.
That also comes with the downside of it's going to impact the telling of the story because you've got to watch essentially an episode of the show. So there's points where it's going to go, oh, well, we've got this information, but now we're going into a segment of the show, and they're trying to get the information across in the segment of the show.
Yeah, which is clunky.
Which it can be a little clunky at times, but I think overall the show element works great. Where it falls down a little bit is, I feel, the story's just kind of down the line and where you expect it to go.
Yes. And this is, I feel a bit the same on that front.
Yeah, and the possession element is like
nothing new.
the only new thing about it is the presentation of it.
Yes, correct.
This was the second time I watched it because I saw it a little bit earlier than you when I was in America, I guess. But-
Yeah. You flew over to America briefly to watch
briefly
this.
to watch it. And I
Yeah,
hurried home
quickly
the next
hurry
day for work. And 3 stars for me.
3 stars. I will join you on 3, and I will pretty much parrot what you said. The presentation of it is really good. That's what wins. Like, it's a bit like that. There's a one that was on Shudder as well. It was like a Halloween special that they did. It was a fake Halloween special. It's similar in presentation to that.
Yep. And probably lands in something with, what's that other one? Was it Ghost Watch, the British one, where they presented that thing as like a show? And
Yeah.
Yep.
And again, Des Melchior is excellent. Like, you get real kind of like low rent Johnny Carson vibes. Like, and I like that. I really think he is superb. Like, he's really, really good. And he holds it together a lot longer than it probably should have. It's just like you said, the possession stuff is nothing we haven't seen, from the fucking Exorcist to a million different movies about devil possession, and it doesn't even present the outcome of it that differently or that well, which is disappointing. Like, when we finally get to that, I'm kind of like, oh, that was kind of let down. But presentation-wise, I think it's a really cool format and a cool idea. I give it 3 as well.
Yeah.
Straight out of the gate, the first like is the effort put in the production design, to make it look like 1970s late night television. Really solid.
Yeah.
Really solid.
Good. Really good.
It looks great. The washed out footage, everything about the show feels like a show.
Yep.
Like, it feels like something you would have seen. And then they've just crafted, almost feels like that is actually real, and then they've crafted in this piece to kind of add. So it's really, really well done, especially on what I can only assume would have been fairly small budget-wise.
Yeah, well, I believe she was shot in the Docklands in Melbourne. So
was it?
Yeah, so I don't think it was going to be a massive budget.
Okay.
Probably get everyone on the tram on the way to work.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, probably maybe 5 to 10 is probably what they spent. So that's not too bad.
Yeah.
Des Melchior, excellent.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Really good. I think he's the standout, but there's a few others that kind of help, like his offsider that sort of help in landing the mannerisms and the presentation of a Tonight Show.
Yes. So there's not a lot of bad performers in it. Like, they're all good, solid performers, but he's a real standout.
Yeah, not going to say I've seen full episodes of Johnny Carson or anything like that.
No.
But as someone that watched a lot of like Letterman, a lot of Conan O'Brien, all that sort of stuff.
Leno?
All the things, not as much Leno.
What about Mike Douglas? He's the only one that makes you moist, doesn't he?
Not so much. But yeah, obviously Carson, from what I know, was the one that set all the conventions of the show.
Yes.
And really kind of put them in place. So all of that stuff is familiar, and I think that's like spot on. I think they get that right. As I said, there's been a few mentions around the jokes and that sort of thing. I actually think a couple of them fit perfectly with some of the jokes that I've seen on Tonight shows.
Kind of almost like dad jokes, some of them.
Yeah,
like you just kind of this kind of sort of shitty joke that you shouldn't really laugh at, but you do. You know.
So I think, Des Melchior gets the gold star for that one. But it's funny, I think when I first watched it, I mentioned to you the whole Don Lane stuff when James Randi was actually on Don Lane. And when you see that stuff on TV specials growing up, which obviously these blokes did because they were in Australia.
Yeah.
And I found out later on that was actually a big part of the inspiration, that it actually came from Don Lane and his affinity for having people like Uri Geller and Doris, what was her name? Doris Stokes or whatever on the show. But But you watch it and you know, seeing him, always seeing that clip of Don Lane saying, "We're coming back from a break and you could just piss off," and telling James Randi to get off the show. And when you watch that, you're like, good on you, Don, you know, get into it, whatever. And then when I grew older, I was a bit more familiar with James Randi, and then, you know, watched how James Randi had actually tried to debunk Uri Geller on the show. I was kind of like, Don, come on.
Yeah, Donny boy, come on. Don't fall for this shit.
So it's so cool to see a movie that looks just like that.
Yes.
And kind of takes that little piece and just fucking expands it with a real supernatural angle.
Yeah.
I actually really love that. That's the thing that is just going to sit with me and probably make me watch the movie again over the journey.
Yeah, exactly. That's a few more trips to the US. So.
Few more trips
no,
to the US,
it's now Australian.
So
They're on Australian soil.
Leave home soil to see that one. Brilliant. To get on a flight to the
Adding
US.
to the whole production design stuff and the late night TV show, I actually like the way it kind of starts like a behind the music episode.
Yeah.
And the whole lost episode of Night Owls and gives us a
here's what it
rundown on Jack's like career and where things were going and all that stuff. And it was a episode that was going to put him back on top and all this.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was cool. Another way of kind of like feeding into something that we would have seen done before, you know,
Yes,
in
yes.
these documentary style things.
Yep.
So really nice plot device. I'm not gonna lie, and I probably shouldn't laugh at this, but when they're talking about how Jack courted controversy with episodes, it shows him fucking wrestling with midgets at one point. I was just like, of course he was.
Yeah. Well, that's of the era, isn't it?
Exactly.
I remember
I mean,
seeing
I
that.
laughed fucking heartily, but you know,
I remember hiring WWF videos and getting the previews for Midget Madness wrestling events and things like that. So it feels very much of the era.
right in the era.
Yeah. I actually really liked, it goes on a little bit, but I really enjoyed Christou doing the act that he leads off with the act that we all know now is, well, we should all know, even though Johnny Edwards, I believe, is selling reasonably well. On
John
his Australian
Edward
tour.
doesn't know. Neither
he's
does
coming to
fucking
Canberra.
Tyler Henry. These fucking bullshit
man.
artists are still...
But, you know, using him to lead off with the act that we have all sort of seen, people have come forward and said, this is how it's done many times now. So leading off with him as the act that we're all going to look at and say, oh, what bullshit.
Yeah.
And then using him as the vehicle to throw something in to say, oh, hang on, what's going on there?
Yeah.
I sort of liked that because it was like the first, you know, they do the Tonight Show intro and then Christou's the one that comes on after the first break
Yeah.
and essentially does the cold reading.
Yeah.
But then they have that part where he fucking
Yeah, he jerks
going, "Oh, shit,"
and he
it starts
starts
going on.
vomiting and shit like that.
I thought that was good to take that as this is how we're going to kind of, this is how we're going to introduce this part to it.
But I also like the fact that they kind of show you how this is all bullshit. and
the
how
guy
they
fucking
operate. The
yucking it
fucking
up, talking about, my wife ran off with Peterman or whatever, not Peterson, but it's close enough.
and they prey on vulnerable people, and that's kind of what the James Randi character is kind of pointing out. You know,
Yep.
which I thought was cool. You know, the Carmichael Haig character kind of sticks himself in there.
Yeah.
I like the addition of him in the story. He's the counterpoint to the supernatural stuff, but he becomes increasingly fucking lost as to what's actually happening. You know, he doesn't realise.
Somewhat.
He's still trying to debunk everything.
Yeah, I got a little bit of a downer on that, but I think, again, this comes back to, and I think the impact of having seen, I think for people like us that have seen that Don Lane stuff, it probably works even better for, because we're kind of tying it into that. But yeah, having him come on, I think it works really well early on. And to have him sort of start sort of going at them and saying, this is bullshit, this is and going at Jack and saying, you're fucking setting this up. You're a charlatan too. Like the way you're carrying on.
I like that.
I thought that was all pretty good.
I like the behind the scenes footage. I was initially a bit skeptical when they cut to the back and it's in black and white.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck's happening here?
It stretches the found footage stuff.
It does.
But I think it's
But it
good.
fills some gaps.
Yeah, I
some
think they should
gaps
have
that
just
needed to be filmed.
Yeah, I think they should have just possibly, like, I kind of like how it's done. But I almost think you didn't need to say this. We caught this on camera.
Yeah.
Just fill it in. Like
Yeah.
we're just seeing shit that wasn't on the camera.
Yeah, maybe. Like there probably maybe could have been some better
'Cause that's
angles,
where
but
it-
I did like the fact that it filled some gaps in for us
Yeah,
that we
definitely.
we weren't getting.
And it keeps to the schedule too. It's like they're fucking ripping through it because, oh shit, we're coming back from commercial and this and that.
Yeah.
So they just rip through all this information, which I actually think in the scheme of things it does work.
Yes. The first time we meet Lily, when she's brought out, her kind of backstory is kind of silly, but also kind of a little bit of creepy mixed in there.
Yeah.
And then
again,
the first
of
time
the
she
era.
talks, when
What
they
was-
first do the conversation with her on the stage, it is actually kind of unsettling.
I actually
at
think
times.
she's more unsettling not possessed.
Yeah.
She's a little creepy when she's not kind
There's
of.
that whole thing too where she doesn't talk, like, or she talks to something. She doesn't look at somebody, and then she talks to them.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Some of that shit was kind of cool. I
Yes.
liked that. It was understated the way they did it.
Yeah, and the video again was like, as you said, it was goofy, but it had elements of. I mean, obviously, again, we're taking real life inspiration from what was his name, Anton LaVey or whatever. That guy that was. Again, the Satanic Panic and all that sort of shit. That guy that was the Church of Satan who looks just like what they're presenting here.
Yeah.
So I kind of liked, again, that they hooked it into shit that we've seen on these things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I actually think the girl that played Lily was really good and was better.
Because she talks in this real monotone sort of voice
Yeah.
and she doesn't look at people.
She kind of makes the possession stuff work by the way she acts when she's not possessed. in a
Yeah.
way.
I think some of that works quite well. I liked where Haig sort of debunked it using the power of suggestion and all that, and then we have that sequence where fucking he starts pulling his own guts out and all that, and I was like, "Fucking hell, what's happening?" And then it comes back to the power of suggestion. That's all it was, and we're just seeing what that guy is feeling.
Yep.
I liked that. I thought that was really cool. It was surprising. It kind of took me by surprise because I didn't think that's what was going to happen.
No, I think, I like that as well. I think that was, they kind of ramp up the gore a little bit with that particular sequence. And again, I was not expecting any of that to happen at that particular point.
No.
And then they pull it back and say, well, let's watch the tape.
Yes. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I like the way that the whole thing was presented because then, my final like is just the finale's just fucking balls to the fucking wall.
It's going off, isn't it? Yeah.
Fucking heads getting cut off and blokes getting their necks broken.
People being melted
and her
and
face
shit.
just splits and shit goes everywhere. Like, I felt like there's nothing new here,
No.
possession-wise.
It gets pretty wild.
But it gets wild, and I dug that. And I felt you had to. You probably had to deliver at the end.
Yeah.
And they do. They deliver to a point, I would have thought. Like, the finale is just, it is just full on. I really like the throat slitting of the doctor with the thing around her neck.
Yeah.
It cuts her throat. And then, of course, they give Haig, the fucking serial debunker. They fucking burn his entire head.
Just melt the bloke,
Melt
don't
the
they?
guy down. I felt like it's a nice way to end it.
Yeah.
Because it goes, it ramps up and then just delivers at the end.
Yeah, I think so.
Worthwhile.
Yep. And
Any,
I think the very end, I didn't mind too, like of him sort of
surrounded by
standing
fucking
there with
corpses and shit.
surrounded by corpses, standing there with the body of the girl that he's just killed.
Yeah.
After sort of going into his own sort of dream
Yeah.
state. I thought that was pretty good.
Not bad. Not bad. Not a bad way to end it. Ends perfectly fine, in my opinion.
Yep.
The way it ended. Any other big likes for you?
No, that was it for me.
Okay, dislikes. I said it at the start. The possession angle is cookie cutter. Like,
Yeah.
there is nothing presented that we have not seen.
No, and it's been done so many times that I guess it's hard to do it any differently. But it
the
really
low growling
is-
voice, the
Yeah.
fucking, the vomiting and all that sort of stuff.
I mean,
you know.
everything is something we've seen before. And
I mean-
like it is hard to present it differently, but it's almost textbook.
Nobody mentioned sucking cocks in hell, so I guess
No, of
exactly quite there.
You know, but we did mention some affairs and things going on that people weren't aware of. And
Correct.
So of
yeah.
course,
So same sort of
it's
shit
still
that
pretty
happens every
textbook.
time. Yeah. So I was a bit disappointed in that. I
Yeah.
would have liked to have seen just I don't know, something else.
Yeah.
As
yeah.
hard as it is to deliver something new, it would have capped
Just
it.
a one-on-one interview with Satan or something, perhaps.
Yeah. Guys with fucking hoofs and shit. The FX for the vomit, they were a bit ropey.
Yeah, there's a couple of times they do a good job of covering it up mostly. Say the face when the girl is possessed,
Yeah.
where the doctor goes to talk to her and try to get her out of it, and she kind of goes, "Ugh."
Yeah.
It's only fleeting, but when you see like the still frames and things like that, it's
Not good.
similar to the vomit. Like it's
Yeah, not
it's touch
great.
and go. It's not great. I mean, overall, it doesn't really take away from too much because, as we said, they use the filters of the era and they do a pretty good job mostly of covering that stuff up. But yeah, there's a few parts. Not only that, but there's a couple of times when they use photos and things. It's like,
No, yeah.
come on.
There's
come
one
on,
in
fellas.
particular where he's out on the street in fucking New York or something.
Yeah,
And it's a
yeah.
still shot, and I was like, oh, man, that looks terrible.
And it's almost every time there's a still photo, it looks comical.
Yeah.
Almost. So yeah, a couple of times where we probably could have just done without without that or gone back to the effects artist and said,
No.
Not tonight, brother.
yeah. Not tonight. He's not ready. All the stuff involving the guild or whatever. The
Grove?
The Grove.
Yeah.
I was slightly confused.
Well,
Was Jack involved? Jack was with the guild.
Jack
the
was
Grove.
with the Grove. So again, it's based on real
Yeah.
stuff, right? But it's so, I mean, it's inclusion at the start and only at the start makes you think, oh, all right.
Yeah, right. So someone
I
was
mean,
in this
they
shit.
mentioned the Grove and they said, there's been links to satanic cults. And it was like, okay, so fucking Jack sold his soul, has he?
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind
but
of.
it doesn't present it
Oh,
very
sorry,
well.
he did actually sell his soul, but yeah, it's
It's not
No.
very. It's not clear. Like
No.
I
And this is
surmise
the-
that from the guy at the start.
correct.
Like,
And this is the downside to the format, right? You can't have him on the TV show going, oh, that time when I was at the Grove and I sold my wife's soul to the devil.
Soul to the devil. Why are you fucking selling your like?
Because he's a selfish man.
Jack. Like, go to some fucking alternative healer or something. Like, go to one of those bullshit artists.
So it's kind of, that's the downside, right? Is that we mentioned the Grove at the start. We go, they've been linked to satanic rituals. And then we go into all the Satan stuff. And then the next mention we get to the Grove pretty much is, the devil saying, yeah, we met Jack under the tall trees. And it was like, oh, fuck, okay. So it's going exactly where we thought it was
Yeah,
going to
exactly.
go. So I guess that's the downside. Is that
But it's quite a downside because I put those pieces together, right?
Yeah, yep.
But by the end, I think if I was an idiot, right?
yeah.
Well,
Well, I've had to watch it twice now.
you know what I mean? Like,
I'm probably
if I'd have got
gonna
to the end and I'd missed that bit, say, I would not have known what the fuck was happening. Like, I would have been like, what did he do? Like, what did he do?
Yeah, it just falls flat because it's such a. I mean, it's mentioned and it's mentioned twice until the ending where they sort of start to represent a little bit about it in that dream state. But even then, it's kind of like, well, fuck, it's probably good you didn't mention it much more. This is where we're going.
The only other thing I had, Jared, and you might have some more stuff,
Yeah, I got a couple.
I like the idea of when you slow down the footage and you see his wife with her hand on his shoulder.
Yeah.
But
Again, it looked.
it looked terrible.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm assuming you wanted to go for scary, but
Yeah.
I laughed.
I actually think if you go back and watch it, it's a bit like Long Legs,
Yeah.
where there's a few points through the film where you'll actually see it.
Oh,
At
okay.
other points as well, you'll see her.
Is it
other
like
points
the
of the
bit
movie.
where Nicolas Cage starts going,
Let
singing
me
like a
now.
fucking asshole?
Yeah, that's exactly what she's singing, I believe. But No, I think it's, once you see spoilers for both movies, but
There's
off now,
little
but-
flashes.
well, in Long Legs when they talk about, if you go back and watch it, there's like multiple points where you see the silhouette of the devil in the background. I believe there's a couple of points where you'll see her in the movie. I tried to keep an eye out for a couple of them, missed them.
Totally.
Because as I said, this was the second time. So
Blinked at the wrong moment.
after I watched it the first time, I dived deep into the trivia section on IMDb.
Yeah.
And she's in a few points around. Didn't see it once.
Okay.
But yeah, the actual single frame, it does look
Rubbish.
a bit ridiculous.
Yeah,
looks
it
a bit
doesn't look
ridiculous.
good. Because she's got her mouth hanging open, she's bald. I was
That's
like,
because
what?
she's singing "Let Me In There."
I was just like, fuck. It looks like a mug.
Yeah, it's not one of the stronger points.
No, not strength. No strength there.
No. Yeah, so I've got a couple more things. So, I mean, we've kind of spoken about individual points of it, but all in all, I didn't love where it landed. The whole sort of, I mean, early on, I'm intrigued by, okay, Jack Delroy's paying a price somewhere along the line. That's what we think's going to happen, but it just plays out almost exactly like you think it's going to play out. There's not really anything else added to.
Not a lot of twists
Not a
or
lot of
turns
twists
or
and
anything.
turns. And as we said, when you're going to present it like this, you got limited time to do the twists and turns, I guess. So,
And limited ways to make it not clunky and stick out.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, as you said, the way the whole thing's presented means that the Grove fucking sticks out like dog's balls.
yeah. So I think they probably opted for, let's just run with the limited story and go all in on the presentation and stuff. And hey, I can't say that's the wrong decision.
No,
because that's-
in my
that's what
opinion,
works
it is
really
the
well.
best decision because the script doesn't do a lot with what.
Well, the
They're trying
bones
to-
of where we're going to get to are all laid out in the first 5 minutes and the last couple of minutes. And after the first 5 minutes, you can probably make a reasonable prediction of
What's going to happen.
how it's going to go.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree with that.
So, yeah, that hurts it a little. The other thing that... So we spoke about the possession stuff being pretty standard, but it's sort of... It's tied in with my issue with the Carmichael Haig character. He just goes on far too long without testing his skepticism.
Yes.
I mean, he keeps waving around the check and but at every turn he's got an explanation, or it's this and it's that. And then they give him a win with the worm stuff.
Yeah.
So when I look at the worm stuff, I'm like, oh, I don't really like where it ends up taking the story. As much as I actually like the scene, when I look at the story, I'm kind of like, it just doesn't,
Fit.
it just stretches this idea that it might not be real for a bit longer.
Yeah.
When we're not here if it's not real.
No, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Unless you pull that on me at the end and then I'm going, you bastards.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Agreed. And his stick kind of does grow tired.
it grows tired around, like there's points where it feels like there should be one thing where even in the ad break, he fucking can't explain something or something twists him up a little bit.
Yeah.
But the whole time he's like, no, I just need time to explain how you did that. And it's only until he's fucking burning up into a pile of mush that he kind of... Because doesn't he scream out something about, oh, let me be your servant?
Yeah,
or something
some
like
shit like that. Where did that come from?
that
Fuck
come
me.
from?
You know,
Because
come on.
It was only until like fucking, a minute or two ago you were like, oh, shit.
You were going, this is bullshit.
you're all in on it. So that really, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit.
Yeah.
Towards the end, like I felt like I needed at some point that his skepticism could be kind of questioned a little.
Yes.
Or put in, he's
Or he's put
questioning
in a
things
position where he cannot possibly explain what he just saw.
Yeah.
You know, like, no matter what. See, and that's, you make a good point about the power of suggestion thing. He could, and the hypnosis thing, he could always come back to that. He could always say that that's how it was done.
And that's what he did until the end of his.
Yeah. Before he's had his fucking face burned off, like, he's still prattling on about
And don't forget, this is after they've told him Christo's dead.
Yeah.
He's like, he's the fucking spouting trick. And they're like, he's dead.
Yeah, that's
he still
right.
comes out and he's telling, you're all in on this.
Exactly. So looking at that scene as a singularly, it was cool. Adding it to the package means that once again, Carmichael Haig comes up as a fucking, he's just a pain in the ass.
You
after
did
a while.
Randy dirty because, as you said, he was doing the Lord's work. Imagine being able to pass off for a couple of years that you used the power of force by blowing pages of a book together. I don't mean to go on a tangent here, but I believe the Don Lane incident was when Uri Geller was on there, and Randy kept saying, he's got magnets." And Randy, if you watch any video debunking Uri Geller, Randy is 100% correct. Uri Geller was working with magnets, and any time someone tried to control the environment. But the whole question to me was, how did Uri Geller get so famous when supposedly the guy had the power to use his mind, but all he ever fucking did with it was bend a
some
couple
spoons. Yeah. Did he do anything else? Like,
what else can we do with this?
what
Uri?
kind of fucking bullshit are we running here?
The man got internationally famous.
Yes, by bending spoons. That's it.
I wonder if Don Lane ever looked back on that and thought, "Oh,
Fuck,
yeah.
he's probably on his deathbed going,
Yeah,
"Jeez, I went
jeez.
overboard there."
Can you just apologise to Randy for me?"
But yeah, I mean, that's one of the strengths of the film, and sort of closing up the episode. But it does do a good job of as you said, creating that environment of like bullshittery that this sort of stuff always kind of brought.
Yep.
And I cannot believe it's still fucking being done.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry to say, if you think that fucking John Edward or Tyler Henry in this current day and age have some sort of fucking power to hear your loved ones when you've got social media, which they could fucking troll through and get all sorts of information, you're an idiot.
But Adam, they don't even use that. They use someone in the fucking auditorium before you go in asking questions.
Yeah, correct. But they don't even have to.
No.
Back in the day, they had
a
other
skill,
tricks.
but it's a trick.
They had people in the audience. They had fake, all sorts of shit like that. But now you could get someone's entire fucking life off their Facebook.
Should we put it to the test? Because Johnny Edwards is going to be in Arendelle in a few weeks.
Is he? Is he in that much trouble? Is he the big fella?
He's playing the Arendelle
Can you play what? The Arendelle
high
pub?
school or something like that.
Holy shit, John. Fucking hell. Yeah, you wouldn't have made enough ticket sales to get your ticket home. it's the Arendelle. What? You go to the Arendelle Club.
But the thing with John is he'll convince one person that it's legit, and then he'll say, "You got $500 for a ticket home."
You know what, though? You don't even play at the Hellenic Club.
No.
Like, that's the next
Cross
year.
Club. The Cross Club's got a couple of rooms. You can play at the top of the Cross. It's not that big.
So you're not playing Canberra Theatre. You're not playing the Playhouse, which is across the road, and you can't even get a run at the Hellenic Club. You're at the Arendelle Club. Is it Vikings?
No.
Vikings
I think
Arendelle?
it's like a legit.
High
Like there's a
school.
small Arendelle theatre or an Arendelle school or something like that. That's where the Canberra leg.
I think the shine's come off John's fucking bullshit. That's what I'd suggest.
I would suggest, there's a few people that have watched James Randi and co. thoroughly debunk what John does.
Yeah, exactly.
What was the other bird that Sylvia, whatever? There was the American one, and she used to go on fucking Montel Jordan show.
Montel Jordan?
Montel. What was the other?
Montel Williams.
Montel Williams. Sorry, not Montel Jordan.
This isn't how we do it. That's what he used to say to her. Cause
There's compilations on YouTube of her absolutely fucking botching she'll hit on the name and then she'll say something and people will just be like, no. Or she'll say, oh, yeah, they've passed. No.
No, they're fucking that's them right next to me.
And then, there's a few compilations that are piss funny.
But the one of the ones too that I always laugh at is there was a fucking TV show in Australia about psychics.
Yeah.
And they're looking for a helicopter in the bush using their psychic powers. And one of these fuckwits is going, it's in this direction. And you can clearly see in the background the helicopter behind him.
Yeah.
Like, these
Classic.
fuckwits have got no such powers.
Just to clarify, he's at the Arundel College Theatre.
Arundel College Theatre.
Arundel Theatre / college for Johnny Edwards.
Oh, John. Jesus
He'll
Christ.
feel it.
Well, hang on. So is that where you're looking for some, vulnerable people out there?
Part of me wants to go and watch it.
No, I don't want to go near
what
the
he's.
guy.
I mean, I don't want to give him money, but
No.
I also kind of want to see
What
the
his stick
bullshit
is.
in action.
Yeah, it would
And
be
kind of
interesting.
sit at the back snickering.
Because this is the thing, Jared. They're magicians.
Yeah,
It's magicians'
exactly.
tricks.
It is.
That's
it is.
all.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me otherwise. You can't prove to me in any other way.
Well, there's a helicopter right in front
Directly
of
behind
you,
you.
about 100 metres to the front of you.
Yeah, let's go this way. All right, that was Late Night with the Devil. Find us on Podomatic, iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. Send us an email at thrillme@iinet.net.au. We're on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia, Podomatic at thrillme.podomatic.com, and on Instagram at Thrill Me Podcast AU. Keep an eye on our Facebook page for details of the next film. But until then, take it easy, everyone, and we'll catch you all later. Cheers. Find the podcast at Podomatic or on iTunes. Don't forget to rate and review. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia or contact us at thrillme, all one word, all lowercase, at iinet.net.au.